The Jukebox. On the show From, music plays a big part of the show with foreshadowing and great connections to plot, whether it's segueing into a scene or highlighting a tense moment. The jukebox is a fixture in the diner at key information scenes that replayed out around it, with the jukebox being a central background figure in those scenes. Of course, like anything else in Fromville, there are eerie moments and mysticism surrounding the jukebox, from playing on its own to seemingly connecting with songs related to specific characters' pasts. Hello from fans. In this episode, we are looking into the jukebox and what role and connection it plays in the town of Fromville. This 1950 to 1960 jukebox sits on the tables in the 1950-style diner, and depending on which scene or moment, it either flickers while residents are talking, playing significant songs from their cloudy past, or providing a character with a sign they needed. It's almost as if it's trying to say something or playing a song from a character's past that had significant meaning in their lives. Each song is played on its own and is never selected by the people at the table at that moment. In key scenes like this, fans knew something mysterious was going on with the jukebox. A key scene in this was at the end of Season 1, when the Grand Rapids bus pulled up and a shot from inside the diner showed the jukebox turn on. The song that played was "Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere" by Neil Young in 1969. The part of the lyrics that plays is, "I think I'd like to go back home and take it easy," in reference to the resident and their own sense of realism that this place is nowhere. Of course, they want to go home. There have been multiple scenes where a character made mention of something, and the next scene was that exact reference, whether it was Sarah telling her brother about the girl with the broken glass, or Boyd asking the almighty power above for a sign. Is it possessed? Is it being controlled by a man behind the curtains? Where did the jukebox come from? Historically, jukeboxes were invented in 1889 by Louis Glass, and William S. Arnold created this device through what is called the nickel-in-the-slot phonograph in San Francisco. This was an Edison Class M electric phonograph retrofitted with a device patented under the name of coin-actuated attachment for phonograph. The music was heard via one of 4 listening tubes. Why do the jukeboxes go on all by themselves in the diner and play songs that mean something to the listener? Could the jukeboxes be possessed by whatever magical creatures also possess the phones, radio communications, and possibly the electricity? We know from the intro song Que Sera Sera music connects to this show and means something for each scene. The show originally introduced us to the jukebox, and now we have Jade and Victor playing the violin. Could music, more like a certain frequency, be a thing? Could the radio they made come into play by broadcasting some kind of frequency? If we look back at the songs played on the jukebox in Season 1. In Ep 1, We've Gotta Get Out of This Place, The Animals, 1965. This song is playing on the radio at the diner while the sheriff is ringing the bell on the street. In Ep 3, If It Be Your Will, The Webb Sisters, 2009, original song by Leonard Cohen, 1984. The song plays on the radio at the diner. The Matthews family moves into the townhouse except for Julie, who goes to the colony house. In Ep 4, Last Train to Clarksville, The Monkees, 1966, and Blue, Joni Mitchell, 1971. The Last Train to Clarksville song plays on the radio while people have breakfast at the diner, and The Monkees plays on the radio at the diner while the Matthews family is having lunch with Boyd, and during that diner the jukebox flashes and Boyd says, "Yes, it does that sometimes." In Ep 5, If I Had a Boat, Lyle Lovett, 1987, where Boyd receives the sign he's been asking for when this song starts playing on the radio, which was the same song he played in the car with his wife, and on. Then, after the diner scene, the end credits play In Dreams by Roy Orbison. The next jukebox scene we have is in Ep 8, If I Had a Boat, Lyle Lovett, 1987, which was the last song we heard in episode 5. In this flashback of Boyd and his family driving the car and listening to this song on the radio. In that same episode, there is a musical overlay when everyone starts helping on rebuilding the house, and Boyd cuffs Sarah and they start walking through the woods. The music continues in Season 2. Episode 1 plays A Hard Rain's A Gonna Fall, Bob Dylan, 1963. This song is playing on the radio at the diner while the sheriff is ringing the bell on the street. Strange coincidences or mysterious messaging. In addition to the jukebox, there are other times when characters have turned to music to feed the scene. One scene like this was in Episode 1 when Julie finished tormenting her brother. She walked over to the RV couch and put on AirPods, but we couldn't tell what song she was listening to right before they spotted the downed tree. A big similarity to this scene is later when Boyd and his family are first coming to town. He puts on If I Had a Boat, song by Lyle Lovett from 1987, hinting to his family that, yes, he indeed wishes he had a boat. Another character introduced with music is Elgin, and when we first see him on the Grand Rapids bus, he was seemingly asleep listening to his music on his earbuds, but once again we don't know what he is listening to. Following this trend, there were 3 main and supporting characters whose initial scenes included music playing, wearing headphones, or a song of significance playing. Where are the songs coming from? The songs on the jukebox itself are listed as Town Without Pity by Gene Pitney, Flipside, Last Chance to Turn Around Any Old Wind That Blows by Johnny Cash, Flipside, If I Had a Hammer, If I Had a Boat by Lyle Lovett, Flipside further down the line, One More Cup of Coffee by Bob Dylan, Flipside Hurricane, Ole 55 by Tom Waits, Flipside, Blue by Joni Mitchell, Flipside Both Sides Now, Motorcycle by Arlo Guthrie, Flipside Chilling of the Evening, Highway Star by Deep Purple, Flipside Child in Time, Hanging on the Telephone by Blondie, Flipside. We know from Season 1 the electricity isn't what we consider real, but somehow all the electricity items work, including the jukebox. Yes, the songs are real songs by real artists, but investigative fans believe this isn't a coincidence. Regular jukeboxes work by having songs in them, but due to specific songs playing that aren't on the track listing, we can say there is some supernatural force connecting relevant songs to the residents. We know that the entity that controls the town feeds off fear manifested from the residents. Could the entity also have access to their musical soundtracks? We know that the creatures said they know everyone's name but didn't say how. It also looks like they know their music choices as well. It's like the creatures have each resident's Spotify stats and use this as another way they try to scare them. There have been a few scenes where the main character was looking for a sign and the jukebox gave it to them at a critical point in the story. We know from the radio tower fiasco that the creatures also can tap into radio signals, so it may be safe to say they also control the diner jukebox. The jukebox isn't the only thing we've seen flickering from time to time. We've seen the radio in Boyd's office flicker, almost cutting him off when Kenny was talking to Jade. And he responded, yes, it does that sometimes. Another time we saw flickering was Jim in the hospital after the house collapsed, and for seemingly no reason at all, he got up out of the bed, stood on a chair, and started messing with the exit sign wires. We don't know if he was trying to turn it off or on, but whatever Jim was doing, it didn't make sense, and he didn't explain. Was this a creature or entity communicating to him? Was Jim planting a trap or fixing an already planted trap? Could further investigation of the exit sign show there are listening devices? We don't know. Outside of Fromville, there have been actual stories of haunted jukebox, so the theory is plausible. In this story, a man ordered a jukebox online that was made in 1954. The model was a Seeburg Model HF 100R jukebox. Since then, some strange things have happened with the jukebox. The owner said, He didn't necessarily believe it was haunted, even though some other people did. There are weird things that look like ghosts but never turn out to be supernatural, malfunctioning only because of short circuits. The next connection to From is the Stephen King The Cell movie connection. It has been confirmed that a lot of what we see on From is inspired by the works of Stephen King. One novel King wrote was The Cell. The Cell is a 2006 apocalyptic horror novel turned into a movie starring John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson, which follows a New England artist struggling to reunite with his son after a mysterious signal broadcast over the global cell phone network turns the majority of his fellow humans into mindless, vicious, bloodthirsty animals. I think we know the show is inspired by various fictional and non-fictional references from multiple Stephen King novels like Salem's Lot, IT, The Cell, and The Talisman. From these literary references and their possible connection to From, is there a malevolent force behind manipulating the jukeboxes, the residents, or is this an all-out war with two opposing forces? Another scene of significance with music is in Season 2, Tether, when Kenny and Ellis are in the forest, when out of the blue they hear an alarm playing music. As they walk over to investigate, they find Kelly, one of the new arrivals from the Grand Rapids bus. This scene shows that the monster used her phone alarm to go off to notify the residents she was there. The alarm seems to be set specifically for that time when Kenny and Ellis would be close by to hear it. How did the creatures know? Or was it set randomly for anyone to find her? All these examples, scenarios, and coincidences, coupled with Fatima reciting Nadia's idea that the place was calling out to them, adds support to the theory that the place is indeed trying to communicate with them by various means. Songs on the jukebox, flickering lights, unfamiliar voices, mysterious dogs, storms, insects, voices on the homemade radio, telepathic communication, the boy in white, visions, and hallucinations. All these things are the place's communications reaching out or, like Sarah said, pushing back against their escape attempts. An additional point can be made that there are at least two opposing forces communicating, one good, one bad. Like the good voices telling Sarah to leave and get away from certain dangerous areas, but then the bad voices telling Sarah to kill the boy and Toby. So what do you think is going on with the jukebox? On behalf of the Movie Guru and Movie Guru Media, I want to thank you for watching this deep dive on the jukebox and music mysteries of the show. Make sure you like and subscribe to be notified of my next video. And as always, we'd love to know what you think, so let's discuss in the comments. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.